This is bad. This is my first Minecraft video. I'm also sorry for the stranger. I don't want to use an actual place, but yeah. Anyways, TADC finale. I mean, yeah, about it. Yes. So there's this indie anime show called Amazing Digital Circus, which after almost 3 years has just released its finale onto YouTube. And I don't know if you know, but this finale and the whole show pretty much is pretty big. So big that it aired in theaters around the globe, which led to the whole episode being leaked weeks before it was even out in theaters. And I will admit, since I wasn't able to see it in theaters, I did watch the leaks because I didn't want to like wait for the whole episode to come out. But I will say, if you did watch the leaks, please also watch the official upload on YouTube. Please support the original creators. Um, yeah, the Glitch team had obviously put so much work into this, and it would be really sad to see re-uploaders of the like leaked episode and just a leaked episode getting the support that Glitch deserves. So yeah, please also watch the official release, which I did before making this video. Well, after, because I'm recording this before. Anyways, on that note, I had some thoughts about this episode that I want to talk about here today for my first long video on YouTube. Oh my gosh. But firstly, just some disclaimers. First of all, obviously this video is gonna have a lot of spoilers for the episode, so please watch the release on YouTube. Watch the episode before watching this, even if like you're just here, like watch it, please. Okay. Also, I'm gonna have some critiques of the episode throughout this video, and I don't mean it to be disrespectful or hateful to anyone on the team. This is just what I thought. Having this big of an episode, having this big of a series is truly incredible, especially for indie animation, and I'm so proud, I guess that sounds weird to say, but of everyone of Glitch, everyone on the team, like it's amazing. So I don't mean this to be disrespectful. So don't third, sorry if there's any inaccuracies. I'm making this before the official release of the episode on YouTube, which I will be watching, but I'm gonna be traveling on the 19th, so I won't be able to like record this, I won't be able to make it, and I'll be on vacation, so I won't have a lot of time to work on this. So I might be like putting editor's notes in if I feel there's something I need to change. I'm not sure though, but just like a heads up with that. And if there's anything that I forgot, feel free to comment in the comments or anything you would like to add. So after recreation of the intro of episode 1, well, without Kane or Bubble, of course, we see the crew, I think, right after episode 8 ended, and Kane got deleted. They're all, of course, confused. Jax is angry. What else is new? I'm not surprised. But, like, this is one of the few times Jax's reaction is, like, actually kind of valid. But Kingdom is, like, sort of stunned at first, but then he snaps back and explains what he saw on the computer while trying to get them out of the circus. And from what I understood from the scene is that everyone in the circus has, like, a brain file, and Kane had gotten access to these. Maybe I understood, but like I didn't really understand this till like the end, and I feel like you were expected to understand this right away. Like the characters automatically figured everything out. I mean, Jax was like, "Oh, looks like you get to do this in the real world, blah blah blah." But like, this feels like a big reveal, and it isn't given much like importance or like time to like settle in or like to figure it out. But but it is given a bit more like explanation, I suppose, towards the end. So we will get back to that. Anyways, after this, they decide to use the power of teamwork and there's basically a montage of King teaching the circus how to make like things on their own, and they're kind of sort of rebuilding, fixing the circus. They're chatting and laughing again. Well, Jax isn't there. Jax is doing who knows what. But I like this part because like you're sort of seeing them as they're rebuilding the circus. They're rebuilding themselves. They're rebuilding like the relationship after this big event of King getting deleted. Like they don't know what to do now, but they're at least being able to push forward, and that's something that is necessary for this time. So I like that. But after this, Jax freaking abstracts off screen. This was like really annoying to me. In my opinion, I feel like Jax got a lot more screen time in the show than needed, but you could argue it was leading up to his abstraction, and like, I don't know about you, but I was definitely expecting this to happen, like, I was definitely expecting this to happen, and I feel like you could tell the circus members could kind of tell as well, like, they're kind of expecting that, but that doesn't make you just brush it off, like, half the show, not half, like, a lot of the show is leading up to this moment, and you just have it be off screen, like, this is a big event, you should give it the, like, intensity that it deserves, and we did see a bit of Jax's abstraction in episode 7, and I would have loved to see, like, the full process, like, we kind of felt like it was just teased to us, and then Jack snapped out of it, and now we're expecting the full abstraction, and it's just off screen. It's just really disappointing. And Jax's abstraction wasn't, like, the process of abstraction wasn't taken seriously. And now with Jax's abstraction, I feel like it still isn't taken seriously. Because I will be genuinely honest, when I first saw his abstracted form, like, running around, and they're just watching over him, I started cracking up. Like, I don't compare it to Kaufmo's abstraction in the pilot. Like Kaufmo feels a lot more scary. It seems like there's higher stakes, and the characters are running away, like they're getting hurt. And I feel like that should be more of the case now than it was with Kaufmo, because with Kane gone, like he can't move Jack into the basement. He can't heal them. Like they have no clue where King is. They think he's completely gone. So it should be so much scarier because they have no one to turn to like to deal with this, and they're just like watching over. They're like, oh, well that happened. And King and Double are just sitting in the ground. Tommy and Agatha are having a full-on staring contest, slowly walking away from each other as if this thing isn't running around loose. And another thing I want to add, like moving on from Jax's abstraction, is that I feel like a lot of the episode, especially this like first part of it, is like consists a lot of the characters like having like talks, comforting each other, which I feel that is necessary for the situation they're in. But it feels like in this episode, oh, so and so are comforting each other. Oh, now it's these two comforting each other. Like it's one after another, and it kind of gets boring. I would love to see some of the characters maybe more on their own or more inner things, or just them doing other things in the circus besides comforting each other. And again, comforting like they're gonna need to work together. They're gonna need to push their way together and like work over obviously all the confusion and different feelings Kane deleting has left them with. But I feel like there's a better way to execute it than it having be again like one after another, and kind of having it get boring, in my opinion. But anyways, Pomni actually being sensible about the situation brings Extractor Jax into the darkness, where she's somehow able to go into Jax's mind by like hugging him, question mark. And we then like see a room basically in Jax's mind, I'm guessing, filled with doors. Three of these doors lead to what I believe is scenarios Jax imagined either out of fear or wanting them to happen. And in each of these, a member of the circus has abstracted, and Jax, as well as the other characters, are reacting to their abstractions. I feel, sort of spoiler alert, after being partially responsible for one abstraction, like possibly even two, you can't help but wonder what it'd be like if other people you knew, regardless of them being friends or not, abstracted. So these rooms sort of make sense when you think of it that way. But then Tommy then enters the fourth room, where we see three different Jaxes that I think are the Jaxes from each of the previous rooms. Like there was a different Jax version for each room, and there's also a fourth Jax playing the piano. I think each of these Jaxes represent a different part of the main Jax's characters. One is more sarcastic, one is more mean, and the other one, playing the piano, is chained, and willingly hands Pomni the key she needs to continue. I think the show's a more self-conscious, sad part of Jax that he keeps bringing down deep down over the more comedic, like, mean part of him. And I think that reveals a lot of his character, but I'm not sure. Anyways, now with the key, Pomni continues to another room, where memories Jax had since he first entered the circus flesh. This is where we see Jax growing close with Ribbit and Cosmo. We then skip to Jax and Ribbit's room, where they're talking about their past. Ribbit asks Jax if there's something he did before the circus that he regrets. Jax is reluctant at first, but then shares with Ribbit basically most of his life before the circus. I won't get into the whole like explanation, but I do want to talk about this because I feel like it's meant to be like an explanation of why Jax was the way he was in the circus and kind of getting to know Jax's backstory so you can apply that to what you thought of the character. And I am a bit biased. I did not like Jax's character very much throughout the show. Like I said, I feel like he got a lot more screen time than he deserved. But I do feel really bad for him after hearing the things he had to go through. But I still don't think this warrants how he treated others in the show at all. And I get that he is misunderstood ago. I get that like after going through so much, you're gonna need to get it out somewhere. But I feel like it's the same excuse as like if someone is being bullied and someone says, "Oh, the bully is probably having trouble at home," if you've heard that before. And sure, the bully might be going through stuff, but there's other way of dealing with problems that you have than causing more problems for others. And I feel like in the past we have seen Jax feel little remorse for how he acts, but he always goes back to his act, and so that isn't enough to like forgive him, as well as with his backstory. Like I feel like hurting others the way he did isn't how you should be like coping, basically. After this, Jax mentions to Ribbit to strictly never talk to anyone about Jax's past, which I get. He just admitted something very personal, and if I were in that situation, I wouldn't want people knowing deep struggles of mine without my knowledge. And Ribbit sticks to this. She never tells anyone, but it's like Jax is expecting Ribbit to tell someone, leading him to deny the entire conversation, and him like avoiding and distancing from Ribbit. And this causes things to sort of sour between them, as if Ribbit did tell someone. But again, she didn't. And I get Jax being cautious, but you trusted Ribbit in the first place to tell her all of this, so why are you not trusting her now as if she's gonna tell someone? And it's kind of because of this distrust, you ruin their entire relationship. And you see Ribbit trying to like apologize for something she never did, trying to fix their relationship, but it never works. And realistically, she would never tell anyone. And after all of this, like Ribbit trying to fix their relationship, Ribbit abstracts. And of course, there could have been other reasons that Ribbit abstracted, but like I feel like that whole like souring between her and Jax, since they were very close, like that is probably a huge factor for why Ribbit abstracted in the first place. After going through all his memories, Pomni finally reaches Jax in this like little like black void, basically with like a lamppost. And Jax like knows his Pomni's presence and admits that he had a really bad personality and he regrets all the bad things that he's said and done, and that he doesn't feel that he deserves love. Okay, so now I'm gonna take back every bad thing I've ever said about Jax. I'm just kidding, but that definitely makes me worse. Like I feel like at least from what I could see, I don't know, maybe I forgive people easily, but like it seemed like he really truly regarded it, and like of course that doesn't make up fully, but like seeing this other side of Jax that he rarely showed, and now like knowing all that he's been through, like my criticisms for Jackson, but they're still a little less. Like this makes me kind of ties it all together, like why he abstracted because he regretted everything that he did. But like Tommy says in the scene, like if he truly regretted, why did he have to keep it to himself? Like he could have avoided so much as he probably wouldn't even abstract in the first place if he at least like talked about how he regretted it and tried to change himself for it better, and he still didn't. But Pomni comforts him, and then but he like liches away, and the extracted form is still there, however, and Pomni kind of goes out of Jax's mind. And when she comes back, she's like kind of partially abstracted, like Ragnar in the first episode, but she finds the rest of the gang right by your side because the power of friendship. like, did they also go through Jax's memories? Because that's what I'm assuming, because they're just fine with like abstracted Jax now. Like, even put in a ton of work to basically build like a giant pill for like another circus for Jax's extracted form to be common. But like previously, a lot of the characters didn't dislike. No, there's only a few characters, but like for Newell, for instance, like in Gangle, they wouldn't do this in the past, but now they're just like fine with it, and they're like helping Jax. They're helping a way more dangerous form of Jax, especially like. I don't get it. So the only way that would work is if they also went through his memories and felt bad for him. But and also like while they're doing this, all the color is back in the circus. Like what? Anyways, we thank for the king who is still alive. He is in the fort and he's trying to get to an exit door, which he does everything in his power to get to with like flying, sprinting, like building, try to get up to it. Except there's this barrier separating him from the circuit, like getting back to the circus. And it kind of reveals like a search engine, basically. He pulls out a selection of names and searches them, revealing social media profiles, news articles, etc. At first, I had no idea what this was. I assumed that it was like people who helped like making search in the first place, like people at CNA or whatever. But after going through these profiles, they're all he kind of has like a moment of self-realization of how he's been treating the cast. But another side of him comes out and basically argues with him, saying that it wasn't that bad and he should go back to how he used to be. The other version, I'm pretty sure, is Abel, because in Abel it was revealed that Abel is a part of Cain. But after this back and forth, Cain comes to the realization that the only way to move forward is to detach himself from Abel, who want him to keep hurting the cast. So he basically pulls the blue dot, Abel, out of him and continues forward. I kind of like this part. I like how like Cain can't go back to Swords without separating from the side of him that basically got him the leader in the first place, and like how even that applies to real life. When there's parts of ourselves we hold on to that just like hold us back, and we need to find ways to separate ourselves from that. But he finds himself out of the circus and he contemplates what he thinks of the cat, like if it really was that bad, if he should really go back. He then decides to go inside and basically sort of reunites with everyone. And they're of course like confused. They don't know what they should think of Cain after the whole events of episode 8. But he recommends to them that they will now have control of the circus, and they basically accept Cain's offer. And they all move to the stage where Cain basically has a presentation to show them like to explain everything. So the presentation shows the characters outside of the circus. It shows their real names, what changed since them entering the circus, and what they're up to now. So this is revealed through like social media profiles, like again news articles, the things that he was searching up in that barrier in the past. And so this is where it was revealed that the characters in the circus are completely separate from the people that they're based off of. So it was kind of this is where it ties back to the beginning of the episode where we found out that they're just brain scans, and so they have the memories of the people they're based off of at the like before they entered the circus. But the people that they got their memories from are still living their own lives, and they're just in the circuits, completely separate. I thought this was a pretty cool twist. I don't know if I should call it a twist or not, but I think it was really nice to see them outside the series, basically having their happy endings and being able to live their best life after we learned so much about their sad backstories. I think it's really interesting how different their personalities and paths in life are, yet their stories all sort of connect, and I think it's a nice way of wrapping up what we've learned about the characters. However, and after watching the presentation, the characters acknowledge their lives outside the circus as well, and they, well, Pomni specific, specified that she'd want to exist on her own alongside real life Pomni, well, Abigail, I guess. So they kind of accept this like separation of the two, which like I don't know, this could just be me, but especially like for like all the characters, but especially the ones who were there in the circus longer, a big chunk, like a big part of their life has been wanting to be in the circus, or not even wanting to leave the circus, or even if they don't want to leave, like adapting to the circus and knowing like only a little bit about their past. And so basically that like presentation showed them that the past they do remember, the like life they would go back to if they left the circus, it was all basically a lie, and that there's no way of escaping the circus. And I feel like that would take a while to adapt to, or like to fully accept. Even if you were used to being in the circus, that like confirmation or like that entire change in that you are not the person technically who you remembered you were. If that makes sense. Anyhow, after this, the characters now, like I said, have control of the circus, and they make it feel more like home, where they get to do what they want with Kane's help without his control. And I think that's a really bittersweet, seeing them maybe not being able to escape and go back to the life they thought they had, but they're able to fully adapt and enjoy their reality on their own terms. And then, like we see a lot of things, they've changed a lot of the things they're doing, and them genuinely having fun and all getting along together. And then the episode ends, like the pilot, with the whole gang, of course, well, without Jax, I guess, enjoying a meal all together, while we zoom out to see the whole circus for the final time. And with that, that's the end of the Amazing Digital Circus, and my first long-form video. In conclusion, while I think some things could have been changed, this was at least a decent way to wrap up one of the biggest indie anime series ever. To be fair, almost cried at the end, but let me know what you think. Did I miss anything? Was I too harsh, or maybe even too lenient? But be nice, like I said, this is my first time doing something like this. But it was really fun, so let me know if you'd want to see more. And again, remember to support Glitch. Oh, and also let me know what the experience in theater was if you want. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you stop by again soon. Bye!